Howdy, and welcome to another episode of Untold Tales from this side of nowhere. It is Saturday, and that means it is time for the podcast about tiny little towns in northwestern Wyoming. That is Untold Tales from this side of nowhere. I'm your host, Connor Jones, and I'm bringing you another story about just about as close as you can get to the middle of nowhere, and that is Poverty Flats, Wyoming. Before we get started, here is a message from our sponsors. This week's episode is sponsored by Bason's Market, located in Basin, Wyoming. Bason's Market is your destination for groceries, fresh produce, and the best meat department in the Bighorn Basin. Come on in and sample their wide selection of products Monday through Saturday from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. and Sundays from 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. Out here in Poverty Flats, if your machine breaks down halfway to nowhere, you're in for a long walk home. That's why I've been using Lookover Power Sports, a handy little app that helps you track maintenance and set reminders, even with a photo right from the trail. It works for dirt bikes, side-by-sides, snowmobiles, and just about anything with a motor. You can try it free for a month, and it's 50% off until Labor Day. Start by visiting lookover.app. Because breakdowns make bad stories, unless they're someone else's. We are also sponsored by the Wyoming Welcome Program. The Wyoming Welcome Program offers two services to local businesses: Table Talk and the Wyoming Welcome Baskets. Wyoming Welcome Baskets are filled with promotional items for local businesses and distributed to new move-ins to the Bighorn Basin. Table Talk brochures include jokes, facts about the state of Wyoming, the month's holidays, and advertisements from our local businesses. These brochures are placed on restaurant tables in Cody and Powell for diners to peruse. So if you'd like to get your business name out there, please contact the folks at the Wyoming Welcome Program by shooting an email to HaleyJ, that's HALEYJ, at wyomingwelcome.com. And now, the podcast. Things are cooling down in the Cowboy State. Leaves are falling. They're blowing out sprinklers, which reminds me I need to blow mine out. And the harvest is well underway. They're trying to move sugar beets. We got some rain and it got a little muddy, so I'm sure it slowed things down for a little, but the trucks are running and the plant is busy, so it's harvest season in northwestern Wyoming. Ruben and I went out and we picked everything that was left in our little garden the other night because we had our first frost, and we got about a 5-gallon bucket of a bunch of tomatoes, and our green beans did awesome this year, and we even got a little bit of sweet corn. So had corn and some elk steak the other night, and yeah, it was good. It's a good fall. It's always nice to close out the summer and harvest everything you planted, and I love fall. It's a good time of year. I'm just I won't mention the S word, though I know people who already have. I hope that we don't get snow down here for at least another few weeks. So we're hanging on to fall as long as we can have it. And in fact, earlier this fall, we decided to escape the western chill and go down south to South Carolina. And Haley and I went with Adam and Sammy, my twin brother who's living in Utah, and he invited us to go down with them to Charleston, South Carolina, and the experience was just too good not to write about it. So today's story is part 1 of West Meets South. Here goes. When my twin brother Fred and his wife recently asked Lily and I if we would like to join them on a trip to Charleston, South Carolina, we were happy to accept the invitation. Fred and his wife had spent 2 years in South Carolina as missionaries, and it was where they met. Now 10 years had gone by, and they wanted to return for a visit. Lily and I had never been to South Carolina, and it sounded like an exciting adventure. I admit, I knew very little about South Carolina prior to our trip. The farthest south I had ever been prior to the vacation was Nashville, and though Tennessee is part of the South, it can hardly be considered the Deep South. Immediately, my mind went to barbecue, rednecks, and, not surprisingly, big fish. For an outdoorsman such as myself, the prospect of visiting a southern coastal city immediately raised expectations of ocean fishing and enormous fish. However, I knew my wife Lily, who is less fish-centric, wasn't going to be too pleased with my plans. I decided I would ease into the topic so things would go more smoothly. So, I said one afternoon in the days leading up to the trip, "What do we have planned for our South Carolina trip?" "Ooh," Lily gushed. "There's lots to do in South Carolina. We can walk around Charleston, do some shopping, and eat out. Southern barbecue is supposed to be amazing. And then there's the beach. We can spend lots of time relaxing and just listening to the waves." I saw my opportunity, and I took it. "That sounds great," I agreed. "We'll definitely have some barbecue, and while you're relaxing, I might just take a few casts, just a few. I hear the fishing is really good in South Carolina." I could tell right away I had said the wrong thing. The effect was instantaneous. "You are not going fishing on our vacation," Lily thundered, placing her hands on her hips, in that way wives do when they don't want their husbands to go fishing on their South Carolina vacation. "We are going to have a relaxing few days, not spend all our time fishing." "But Lily, it's the ocean," I protested. "The fish are huge. We can't go to the ocean without at least trying to catch a fish." "We might as well not even go," she grumbled. "Oh, I wouldn't put it like that," I said in an effort to smooth things over. I could tell this was going to be an uphill battle. Luckily for me, Fred had similar ideas. "Hey Al, did you know South Carolina is great for both freshwater and saltwater fishing?" he asked me one afternoon on a phone call. "Oh yeah?" I replied. "Yeah, you can catch all kinds of things in the rivers. Bass, perch, trout, you name it." "Gee, that sounds amazing. What did Sarah say when you asked her about fishing?" Well, I'm still trying to figure out how to bring it up. She keeps going on and on about Boone Hall, the place where they filmed The Notebook. There's also a ton of historical sites in South Carolina. Maybe if we wake up really early, we can fish before the women wake up." "That could work," I said excitedly. "They're on vacation. They'll want to sleep in, right?" "I bet they will," Fred replied. "And if we're flying southwest, we each get to check a bag, so we could check our fishing poles for free." "Oh, really?" I asked, my excitement rising. I had forgotten about their checked bag policy. Now there's really no reason our wives shouldn't let us go fishing. "Exactly," Fred agreed. "I just have to figure out how to bring it up with Sarah." As the day of departure approached, I kept meaning to look up all the historical sites in South Carolina, but somehow all the links to historical sites led me to fishing videos. It's amazing how you can start out looking at dates and facts about Rainbow Row and colonial architecture, and suddenly you're watching some dude you've never met land an 8-pound red drum. The internet really is a strange place. It is useful when you want to learn how much weight you need to keep the surf from moving your bait all over the place, at least 2 ounces. and the easiest rig to set up for beginner ocean fishers. The 2-hook dropper rig is suggested by many anglers. The day before the trip, we began packing our bags. "What should I wear on our beach day?" Lily asked me, holding up 2 outfits. "This one is a cute outfit, but this one is more comfortable. It's so hard to choose." "I know," I agreed. "I can't decide if I should take my shrimp lures or if we should just buy some live bait when we get there. I wonder if there's bait for sale at the beach." Lily dropped her outfits to her side, and her eyes narrowed. "You're not really planning on fishing, are you?" she asked in disbelief. "Well," I said, my mind racing, "Fred really wants to go fishing, and he is in charge of the itinerary. I guess when someone invites you on vacation, you kind of have to go with the flow." I shrugged. "Fishing was Fred's idea?" Lily asked, raising an eyebrow. "Well, yeah, he wants to go fishing," I said. "We've been talking about it all week, and since we're flying Southwest, we both get a checked bag, so my fishing pole can fly for free." Lily slapped a palm to her forehead. "You're checking a fishing pole?" "Well, yeah," I said. "I packed it last week. It's way cheaper than buying a fishing rod when we get there." "You packed your fishing pole last week. When do you plan on packing your suitcase?" "I'm getting to it," I said. "How much does the fishing license cost?" she asked. "I bet it's really expensive. How much do I get to spend on the vacation?" "Actually, it's only $10 for a day license," I beamed. "South Carolina is pretty cheap when it comes to licenses. Remember how much an out-of-state license cost in Montana? They're practically asking people to fish in South Carolina." Lily heaved a sigh. "Well, if Fred really wants to go fishing, I guess you can go with him. That little inner fisherman that lives inside every man and boy who ever breathed air began dancing the hokey pokey, and I did my best to maintain a facade of calm acceptance. I couldn't hide my smile, though. "Don't worry, we'll get up early and go while you and Sarah are still asleep," I assured her. "You won't even know we're gone. You can have a relaxing morning, and we'll get in a few casts." Lily shook her head and muttered, "Men and their fishing habits." I gave Lily a peck on the cheek. "Thank you, dear, and you can buy all the souvenirs you want. I mean, within reason." She gave me a sly glance and grinned. "Yeah, within reason. Now help me decide what to wear." On the day of the trip, we arrived at the Bozeman Airport at 6 a.m. I wheeled my carry-on and our checked bag over to the Southwest ticketing counter, and Lily followed with her carry-on and the Cabela's case that held my casting rod, lovingly cushioned with Walmart sacks and taped shut on both ends for added protection. "I hope my packing job will keep my rod safe," I said as we scanned our boarding pass at the kiosk. "I hope you didn't forget anything important when you were packing last night," Lily said, pointedly, with an emphasis on last night. "I'm sure I got everything," I said breezily. "Now what do I call the fishing pole? They don't have the option for deep-sea fishing rods in the checked items list." "I wonder why not," Lily said in mock disbelief. "Outdoor equipment over 75 inches? Nah, that's not right. How about golf clubs?" When we landed in Denver for our connecting flight, it didn't take long for us to find Fred and Sarah. I was waiting for Lily outside the women's restroom, with all the other men waiting on their wives, when a bearded man in a plaid shirt wearing muddy cowboy boots came rushing down the terminal with a tall brunette in tow. Fred looked right past me like a man on a mission. But Sarah and I made eye contact, and she broke into a smile and gave me a little wave. I waved back as Fred trucked past me, and Sarah stopped, grabbing at Fred's hand. "Huh?" Fred asked, turning back to Sarah and noticing me. "Oh, hey, man!" We gave each other a bear hug and a slap on the back. "How's it going?" I asked. "Good," Fred replied. "How was your flight?" "It was great," I said. Just then, Lily emerged from the bathroom. "Hey!" Sarah cheered, wrapping Lily in a hug. "So good to see you guys." "Yes," Lily replied. "Early morning?" "Oh, yeah," Sarah said. "But you guys had one too." "Yep," Lily nodded. "Well," Fred said, "should we find our gate? Next stop, South Carolina." As soon as we landed, we retrieved our checked bags and our fishing poles, then picked up the rental car, a little Toyota Corolla. "I get the feeling I'm going to get sick of this fishing pole," Lily grumbled, adjusting the position of my fishing pole, which was leaning up between us on the back seat at shoulder height. "Don't worry," I said. "Once we get to our Airbnb and we get our bags out, I can keep it in the trunk. They just didn't design the Corolla for 4 suitcases and a couple of fishing poles, you know?" Lily heaved a sigh and shoved the fishing pole in my direction. It was a short drive of about 30 minutes to the beach, and as soon as we got there, Fred and I were faced with a conundrum you just don't have to deal with in Wyoming. "How much does it cost to park here?" Fred asked in disbelief. $15, I said with resignation, referring to the parking app on Fred's phone. We had dropped Lily and Sarah off, and now we were circling Folly Beach, South Carolina, trying to find a spot that wasn't occupied, and that wouldn't cost us an arm and a leg to park the car. "It looks like there's some free parking a few blocks down," I said, panning around the map on the phone. "Oh, free parking. Let's do that," Fred said. Once we were finally parked between a Ford Fusion and a palmetto tree, we made the trek back to the beach, leaving our fishing poles behind, since our licenses weren't active until the next day. We walked past rows of palmetto trees and houses set on stilts, our shoes crunching in the sand that seemed to be just about everywhere. "This kind of reminds me of Santa Monica," I said, "but a lot more humid and not as crowded." "Yeah?" Fred replied. The women were waiting for us at the parking lot near the pier. "Do we want to go out to the beach or try the pier first?" Fred asked. "Let's go out on the pier," Sarah replied. We climbed the wooden steps up to double glass doors and pushed our way through. A long wooden pier stretched out in front of us, with benches and a scattering of tables immediately to our left and right, and beyond it, the ocean. "Wow," I murmured. Every time I see the ocean, I am struck by its sheer, awe-inspiring magnitude. The fact that there's just that much water doesn't seem possible to someone who grew up in a place that gets only a few inches of rainfall per year. Our feet thudded hollowly as we strolled down the pier, a warm sea breeze ruffling the girls' hair. A seagull floated above us, and beachgoers splashed in the waves down below. Here and there a surfer paddled their board out in the waves. The rhythmic sound of waves crashing on the beach filled the air. Lily put her hand in mine and sighed contentedly. "Ah, isn't this beautiful?" she asked. "It sure is," I agreed, peering down into the water. I had heard fish like to school around the pier since it breaks up the surf. "Look," Fred said, pointing to the railing that ran along the edge of the pier. "They have rod holders built in." Sure enough, there were PVC pipes anchored to the railing at regular intervals the entire length of the pier, with little benches for anglers to sit on. And now I noticed there was a family ahead of us with a bunch of tackle and long fishing rods pointing out toward the sea. There were a mom and dad and 3 little girls. The girls each had rods in their hands, and it looked like the dad was doing all he could to keep the hooks baited and the lines in the water. I could certainly relate. "I think she caught something," I said, indicating one of the little girls. Fred and I watched as the girl's rod curved down toward the water, and she reeled furiously. "Daddy!" she squealed. "Just keep reeling," he said, rushing to her side to encourage her. In a few moments, the girl had reeled in the wriggling fish, her face a portrait of delight as her dad tried to get it off the hook. "Good job!" the mom cheered. "That's awesome," I said to Fred. "Yeah, I wonder what they're using for bait." As we approached, we continued to watch as the father snapped a picture of the girl with her catch, which was about 7 inches long. I wondered if that was pretty standard for this part of the ocean. Personally, I was anticipating catching some much larger fish, especially after seeing anglers reel in monsters on the beaches of YouTube. "Excuse me," Fred said, approaching the father as he tossed the fish off the pier and into the water. "We're from out of state, and we're planning on fishing tomorrow. What are you using for bait?" "Just chunks of mullet and shrimp," the man replied casually. "We have some fresh shrimp and some frozen. They both seem to work all right." "Awesome, thank you," Fred said with a nod. "Man, I can't wait to get a line in the water," I said excitedly. "Well, fishing can wait," Lily said, pulling me away from the fishing family. "Come enjoy the view with me." We walked over to the edge of the pier and gazed out across the waves. "It is beautiful," I said, following the coastline with my eyes. There were a few hotels, but I was pleased to see that most of the waterfront was dotted with beach houses, and the noisy crowds and ubiquitous litter of Southern California's beaches were nowhere to be seen. Lily and I had been to Santa Monica the year before, and I had been half expecting a beach experience like the one we had in California. "This is way different than California," I observed. "Yeah, I love it," Lily said contentedly. I glanced down at the railing we were leaning against and saw a large red rectangular sticker. It had little diagrams of fish and a long ruler. "Look, fishing regs," I said, looking past Lily to where Fred and Sarah stood. "Oh yeah," he said, scanning the sticker. "It's got the creel limits," I observed. "Red drum, 2 per day, 15 to 23 inches. Sheep's head, 10 per day, at least 14 inches? Fish here must be enormous. Spotted sea trout. Dolphin? You can fish for dolphins here? And the limit is 10 per day, not to exceed 54 per boat? Cripes!" Fred and I looked at each other like we had just seen a Sasquatch. The women looked dismayed. A slow-motion vision of a dolphin on the end of my line, jumping in the air in all its enormous silver glory, filled my head. Heavy metal played in the background as I bellowed in excitement, with Fred pounding on my shoulder and screaming. I shook my head to clear the vision. "Who would actually fish for dolphins? And for 54 of them!" I spluttered. It was too disgusting to comprehend. "Yeah, 54 of them," Fred marveled. "People would riot. Can you imagine coming in on that boat?" "Oh yeah, we just killed 54 dolphins. No big deal." "You'd make international news." "It can't mean actual dolphins," I agreed. "That would be insane." "Yeah," Fred said, pulling out his phone and tapping at the screen. After a moment, he assured us, "It looks like it's a type of fish." "Whew," I chuckled in relief. "I can't imagine fishing for dolphins." "You'd have to be some kind of monster," Fred concurred, starting to laugh as well. "All right, you two," Sarah said with a sigh. "Let's just enjoy the ocean for a bit." Lily took my arm and pulled me away from the fishing regulations sticker. We stopped at a clear spot on the pier, and she rested her head on my shoulder. I tilted my head to the side so that it rested on hers, and for a moment or two we were just silent, watching the waves and taking in the view. It was perfect. Well, there you go. That is part 1. I'm not sure how many parts this story is going to have. That does the first day, and we were in South Carolina for, so got there Friday, and we were there all of Saturday and Sunday, all of Monday, and flew home Tuesday. So we were there for 3 full days and part of Friday. So this story could take a while to tell. And the next morning, that Saturday morning, was when Fred and I, Adam and I, went and tried our hand at deep sea fishing. Okay, it wasn't deep sea fishing. It was on the coast. So what do they call it? Just surf fishing? I don't know all the terms when it comes to ocean fishing. So tune in a couple of weeks for part 2, and you'll hear all about it. So it was a lot of fun. That was a great vacation, and we were off to a great start on Friday, going and seeing the ocean right away. And you'll find out more about the trip in subsequent episodes. So if you enjoyed this episode, be sure to check out all the other ones. I now have over 70 stories on the podcast, and they're all great. So go check them out if you haven't already. And if you enjoyed the podcast, also be sure to leave us a 5-star review and a message wherever you listen to your podcasts. You can reach me at Untold Tales, the podcast, at gmail.com. And you can also comment on this episode after it drops on Facebook. So, as always, this has been another episode of Untold Tales from this side of nowhere, where we work twice as hard for half as much and still find time for the important things, like fishing. See you next time, folks.